All right, we're going live. Why did that get so dark all of a sudden? I don't know why that got so dark, but we'll work with it. It's the apocalypse. All right, y'all, we'll give people a chance to come on in and sit down and grab them something to drink. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Grab you a Guinness, a green beer. Make sure you keep your social distance. I got my green drink for the day. Hey, Mish. Hey, Richard. What's up, Blake? What's up, Christopher? Slavic. Hey, guys. Welcome to the Demon's Tea Room, y'all. Pull up a table, pull up a chair, grab you a drink. Welcome to the Apocalypse edition of the Demon's Tea Room. I figured since I don't get to get my dress-up fix going to work, so I figured I'd get my dress-up fix coming to work. So, we'll get started here in just a minute. There is my Dusty. Love you, baby. And only Dusty will get this, but dude, turtles, noggin, dude. Love you, little shit. All right, y'all. So people can come in and kind of catch up as we go. So I hope everybody's apocalypse is turning out all right for them. Stay safe, stay healthy, social distance, all that cool stuff. So I was thinking about it last night, what I wanted to go into for today's Demon's Tea Room. And since a lot of you guys haven't gotten a chance to come down and go on tours with us and get a chance to see how our cemeteries work here in New Orleans and how we deal with our water table being a little high. Thought I'd cover that. And then I'm going to cover some of the ghost stories in and around, especially San Luis No. 1 Cemetery. Now, keep in mind, here we are about at or below sea level in most places of the city. So that means our water table is about 2 feet down. You hit about 3 feet, you're digging into what we affectionately call gumbo mud. It's a very thick mud clay mixture. Now, a lot of people in town and our visitors think that San Luis No. 1 was our very first cemetery. It was not. Our original cemeteries, their first way of trying to deal with the dead here in the city, is they had the bright idea that they would just bury the dead in the levee wall of the Mississippi. Okay, fair idea, except when it floods. Then you got a problem, because then the levee wall starts to get washed away, and when that washes away, now you've got ancestors washing through town, literally. All right, that didn't work, so they decided to move the cemeteries just a little bit away from the riverside itself, and they developed St. Peter Cemetery there off St. Peter Street there in the quarter. And yes, it is still there. Now, this was a normal in-ground style cemetery. So what they would do is when it was time for the next funeral, the grave diggers, or as we call them here, sextons, to prepare for the families, it would come in, they would dig down, hit that water table, dig down that gumbo mud as far as they could, then they would lay ropes across the hole, because that hole would fill with water. Families would come in, coffins would be set on top of those ropes. Now, keep in mind, the coffins in that time period came pre-drilled. Small holes along the bottom, small holes along the lid. Soon as the family was done with their services and had left the cemetery, those sextons would pull the ropes on that hole, causing those coffins to sit down in the water. At this point, their job became to stand on the lids of the coffins, forcing them down. Water filling from the bottom, air escape out the top, Coffins sink down that gumbo mud and stick. You throw copious amounts of dirt laden with bricks and rocks to weigh that coffin down, and ta-da, you're buried. Except when it rains or it floods. Keep in mind, y'all, southern Louisiana, it rains out here almost every bloody day. So when we would get heavy summer thunderstorms, hurricanes, flooding, water table starts to push up. As that water table pushes up, it starts to put pressure on the underside of those coffins. Now, eventually, those coffins will come back to say hi, even through concrete. Now, unfortunately, it has been historically documented that not only did the coffins have a bad tendency of breaking ground, but they had the bad habit of floating around. Human remains didn't always tend to stay inside the coffin. So it's not uncommon during heavy flooding to get an ancestor or two floating down Royal Street. How we solve that little problem, we're getting ready to show you. So, I was lucky enough, got this about a year ago. Sits in my on my shop desk. This is a small reproduction of the Glapion tomb, where Marie Laveau is interred there in San Louis No. 1 Cemetery. So, if you've been here, you've seen any pictures of our cemeteries, you've seen the wall tombs that surround almost all of our cemeteries. What's up, Drew? Drew Hall, ladies and gentlemen. If you watched the video that I posted earlier, is the director and is part of Craft Show. He's the director who directed us in that video I posted a couple minutes ago, and decided that Through the Apocalypse, my call sign from now on is going to be Told You So McGee. So you're going to have to watch the video to understand where that came from. Much respect and love, Drew. So, back to where we were at. So, how these bad boys work. Now, you'll see a lot of our wall tombs surrounding our cemeteries. Now, that technology was brought here around the 1760s by the Spanish. And you can think of those much like one-bedroom apartments. All right? Now, our tombs have 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, all the way up to these big, huge tombs that you'll see we call society tombs. Now, inside those society tombs, you can have anywhere between 50 to 60 people interred. Inside one of these bad boys, not this one particularly, but inside one of these bad boys, you can have anywhere between 10, 15, 20, 30 people. Now, how can we fit that many people in one of these itty-bitty little buildings? That's a damn fine question, guys. I'm glad you asked. Now, how these work is, let's say you happen to be standing around at one of our cemeteries and funeral's getting ready to come in. It's about an hour, 2 hours out. What you're going to see is those sextants we talked about are going to come in to prepare this tomb before the family gets here. They're going to take this nameplate off the front, and right behind that is bricks. They're going to punch those bricks out. Then they're going to take that pretty casket or coffin that's sitting inside, and they're going to break that apart, either throw it away or burn it. Then they're going to take the human remains inside, and they're going to scoop those into a biodegradable bag known as a bone bag. Now, in the base of all of our tombs is an area in French known as the caveau, or in English, the basement. They're going to take that bone bag, they're going to slide it down in the basement with the other ancestors that have gone before. They're going to place a curtain over the hole so the family cannot see inside. The family will come in, have their services, that coffin or casket lifted up, slid onto that shelf. As soon as the family has left the cemetery, they will re-brick up the front, nameplate on the front, and the whole process starts all over again. That's how we do that. And that's how these bad boys work. Now, our wall tombs, which, think of this right here, except going on for an entire wall, are also known as oven tombs. Because for a long time, when they were designed, they originally looked like bread ovens. Now, the other reason these are called oven tombs is these tombs can get up to between 200 and 300 degrees, sometimes even in the winter with the sun and the heat down here. Now, that is not hot enough to cremate by any stretch of the imagination. You got to be at least over 1,300 degrees to cremate a human body, and don't ask me how I know that. So, and I completely just lost my train of thought on cremating bodies. Yeah, I know, I'm a sick fuck. Anyway, so these get between 200 and 300 degrees even in the winter. Now, in our wall tombs do not have a caveau like our individual tombs. What they have is there's a couple of ways that they deal with the remains. Now, there is some of them that in the back there is a hole that drops down into the back side of the wall tomb. And I'm sure you guys have heard the term, I wouldn't touch it with the 10-foot pole. Ta-da! They take a 10-foot pole with a spatula on it, push those remains to the back, they fall down into that caveau, and then it is ready for the next coffin or casket to be slid up inside. That's how we do that. Now, we do have some in-ground burials here in the city. They're over in the some of the higher points in town, back over more towards this way of town in what is known as the Gentilly Ridge. It's a little bit higher point in the city, and if you go back in the anthropological record farther back than 300 years, in that general area was the site of a lot of the Native American villages as well as their burial sites, because it was a little bit higher. And that area today is known as the Greater City of the Dead. Keep in mind, in the city of New Orleans, we have, inside the city itself, we have 35 active known cemeteries in this little bitty space. In the Greater City of the Dead, conservatively, you were looking at over 1 million individuals interred in those cemeteries. Now, if you do the math on that one, that means, no BS, the dead outnumber the living in the city of New Orleans. I think the last census count I remember seeing, which was not too long ago, don't hold me to the fire on this number, was around 400,000 actual locals in the city of New Orleans, not including our tourists, especially the idiots that show up in a pandemic and decide to go party on Bourbon Street. So, and I like to joke on my tours, telling people, you know, it's much like Lost Boys. There's a line in Lost Boys that says, if the dead were to decide to stand up at one time, we'd have one hell of a population explosion. Yeah, welcome to New Orleans. So, that's a down and dirty on how our tombs work here in the city of New Orleans. And our cities of the dead are gorgeous. And I hope to, if they don't completely lock us down into our houses, which hopefully they won't do, we'll get a chance and I'll go do some live feeds from some of the cemeteries over in the greater cities of the dead, so that you guys can get a chance to kind of go on a walk with us. Now, in San Louis No. 1 Cemetery, in some of the research that we've done, keeping in mind San Louis No. 1 is right there on Basin Street at the back side of the French Quarter. And that used to be the back swamp area. That used to be the outside of the quarter. It was out of town. So, and if you go, here's New Orleans, San Louis No. 1, San Louis No. 2, San Louis No. 3, you can see the progression of the city as it grew. Now, San Louis No. 1 is almost like a wedding cake effect, because what they would do is they would bury people, throw dirt on, bury people, throw dirt on, bury people, throw dirt on. And this was some of the technology, keeping in mind they went through a whole lot of technology trying to figure out how to keep our dead in the ground. And so, in San Louis No. 1, which is where Marie Laveau is reportedly, and I say reputedly, interred. Now, I say that because there is the Glapion tomb in San Louis No. 1, where she is reputedly, her remains are interred. It is also historically known that her daughters have their tomb on the backside of San Louis No. 1, and that historical documentation also says that the Marie Laveau's family, the Glapions, actually also owned 2 to 3 wall tomb spaces in the wall tombs around San Luis number 1 cemetery. Now, I have had the honor, back when I was doing cemetery tours there in San Luis number 1, I had her great, however many great, nieces on one of my tours. And so as soon as that tour was done, I was all about bribing with lunch and drinks to, I want to talk to you. And so I got a chance to talk to her just a little bit, and it was epically awesome. And I'd asked her about the rumor that some of us had heard here in the city. Now, Christopher, you were saying, I see right there, no, NOLA does not enforce cremation, and there's a reason for that. This is a very, very Catholic city. Has been for 300 years. And it wasn't until the 1960s that the Vatican came down and said that it was all right for Catholics to be cremated. So that is still a very, very slow process. We do have cremation here, but it is a very slow process to have happen here in the city. On top of the fact, most of your families that are here in the city, that these tombs have been in families 150, 200 plus years, because they're passed down generation to generation to generation via deed. You own these bad boys much like you own a house. You own the building, you own the property underneath where the caveau is located. Yes, that means you get to pay property taxes. They're going to get you coming and going. Now, much like you own a house, you can turn around and sell these bad boys just like you own a house. Now, there is a law on Louisiana state books that states if there is a living heir to the family, by law, that piece of property has to be passed down to that living heir. Now, on the flip side of that coin, there is a law on the city books for the cemeteries that if the cemetery loses contact with a family member or that family's representative for longer than a year, that piece of property can legally revert back to the ownership of the cemetery that it is sitting on, and they will turn around and sell it. Now, I can hear all of my tourists and you guys, because I always get this question, what about the remains? And also, I wish for gods I could make this next part up, but I can't. Occasionally, you will find our tombs go up for sale on Craigslist. Saw one about 6 months ago for Metairie Lake Lawn Cemetery, was going for about $12,500. Now, in the answering of the question of what happens to the remains inside, that's up to the person buying. 9 times out of 10, what mostly happens is the next family coming in, they will just take the nameplate off the front or where they have the names on the faceplate. Those faceplates will be moved around to the side so the lineage is still there. And the new family name will go up on the front. Bada boom, bada bing. Business as usual. Keeps rolling like nothing ever happened. But you own that piece of property. You own the building. You own the caveau where the building's located. You can walk in and say, nope, I want a clean tomb. Get them out. At which point, the sextons will come in, they'll remove the remains that they can into a holding tomb, much like what they have in Paris, except we don't have the cool catacombs to break into and go exploring in. And they go into a holding tomb, and now you've got a nice, clean tomb to start your family's above-ground burial practices. Though, probably haunted because you just basically evicted somebody. Which we're going to get into in one of our later episodes when we talk about Metairie Lake Lawn Cemetery and one of my favorite stories in the city, one of my heroines here in the city, which is Josie Arlington. And we'll go into more of her stuff down in a couple episodes down. But back to San Luis number 1 Cemetery. Now, San Luis number 1 Cemetery, some of the reports that have come out of San Luis number 1. Oh, Well, I digress just a little bit. Let me finish here because I saw a question I had to answer. I apologize for that. Now, as I was saying, I got a chance to sit down with one of Marie Laveau's ancestors, her niece, and got to ask her some questions. And one of the burning questions that I had was that we have heard through the grapevine that Marie Laveau's remains are not in the actual Glapion tomb, that they were moved. So I asked her that question, and she says that's what the family history down the line, what their internal family discussions have said, is that just a very short period after Marie passed away and she was interred into San Luis No. 1 Cemetery, that the family came in the middle of the night, removed those remains, and placed them in an unmarked tomb to protect them from grave robbers and those wanting to get a piece of Marie's remains. So, is she in the Glapion tomb? Is she not? That is still open, but the family believes, the family rumor is that she was moved into an undisclosed location, either in San Luis No. 1 or in San Luis No. 2. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the paranormal activity in and around San Luis No. 1 Cemetery has to do with Marie Laveau. Now, there's a couple other stories we'll get into. We're going to start off with Madame Laveau. Now, one of the stories that we get out of San Luis No. 1 Cemetery, and this is actually backed up by some of the sextants who work in and around San Luis No. 1. If you get to know them, they have some pretty cool stories if they get to trust you and as a guide, and they know you're not going to go in there and just mess stuff up. Is that when Marie passed away, she was interred with her pet python named Zombie. Not our zombie, long zombie, not Hispanic zombie. And it has been reported throughout the years that the sextants have seen a large snake making its way through San Luis No. 1 Cemetery. And when they go to look for it, snake disappears. It's also been reported, people have seen it from outside of the cemetery as well as inside. Sextants is what I'm saying, sir. Sextants. You got the spelling fairly right. They work for the archdiocese, so they're the ones that take care of the cemeteries. That people have seen and reported seeing a large snake coiled up on the roof of the Glapion tomb, watching over Marie's tomb. Now, go back to the 1800s, the story comes out that it used to be a thing for young kids, teenagers, to challenge each other in the middle of the night, jump over the wall or over the fence, run in, put your hand on the Glapion tomb, pick up something off the Glapion tomb to show you made it, and make your way back out. Well, story has it that there was 3 young boys who decided to do that, and they ribbed and ragged on one of their younger friends to go do it. He didn't want to do it, and they finally browbeat him enough to jump the fence and go in there. And so he jumps the fence, over he goes, and he goes into the Glapion area, into the cemetery. So the 2 boys are sitting outside, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait. He hasn't come back, he hasn't come back. They hear some strange things coming from inside of the cemetery. He still hasn't come back over the wall. Something must have happened. There we go. Look, connection available. All right, we're back up and online. All right, cool. They lose their connection. Or they lose their connection. Welcome to the 21st century. They lose their nerve and they bolt. So they finally get the attention of some of the people, some adults, And the next morning, early morning, they go in and they find their friend dead, leaning up against the front of the Glapion tomb with his coat jacket caught on a piece of metal at the front of the tomb. And young kid, there was no trauma, looks like he was scared to death. So legend has it, did he see something? Did he just scare himself to death? Nobody will ever know. But Marie has been seen on numerous occasions and been reported in and around San Luis No. 1 Cemetery, both inside and outside. Keeping in mind, if you look at an aerial shot of San Luis No. 1 Cemetery, today it is actually much smaller than it was originally. It actually used to go up all the way to the back of Our Lady of Guadalupe, right there at the back of the church. Basin Street now runs right across where the old cemetery used to sit. And so she has been seen out and reported out in front of, on Basin Street there at San Luis No. 1, and has been reported inside San Luis No. 1. People have seen her, of course, African-American pretty lady. She's usually in all white, has her very distinct red turban on that she was known for. Red was one of her favorite colors. And she has been known to haunt San Luis No. 1 Cemetery. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Because not only is her husband, technically by our standards today would be common law husband, because they weren't allowed to be married because Monsieur Glapion was a French aristocrat, and her being a free woman of color in that time period, it was illegal for them to be married. They were together almost for their entire lives. If my numbers are correct, keeping in mind this isn't my area of expertise, but I want to say it was around 15 children, only 2 of which made it into adulthood, two young girls. Was that her husband, the Glapion family, is interred there in San Luis No. 1, as well as her daughters and most of her family. So it would not be a huge leap to think that she still haunts that cemetery, protecting her family in that area. It is, you show your respect in there. And as I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be the prudent, good New Orleans tour guide here, and I'm going to point out, you'll see it actually on here. See all these little X's and graffiti and stuff that's on my replica of the Glapion tomb? Yeah, don't do that. That is major bad form. That is called graffiti, and it is illegal here in the city of New Orleans, and it is actually will cause destruction of the tombs. So please do not do that. If you come down and visit us here in the city of New Orleans and you take a tour inside of our cemeteries, please do not mark 3 X's on the tombs. Don't knock on the tombs 3 times and spin around. All of that BS started in the 1920s. That is not a voodoo practice. It does not have any connection to our voodoo practices here in the city. If you want to come, you want to show your respect to Marie Laveau, you want to show your respect to Dr. John, who is also interred there in San Luis No. 1 Cemetery, bring some tobacco, a flower, a note that is rolled up, tied with a small bow. Walk up to the tomb, leave your offering there at the base of the tomb. Whisper what you need to ask Marie or Dr. John, and you don't have to touch the tomb. Because trust me, when you're in there, they can hear you. So, I love the discussions that are going on down here. You guys are making it hard for me to continue to check, because I want to keep going, because they're beautiful reading them. The active discussion you have going in the chats are awesome. Thank Chaz for backing me up. there is a YouTube channel you guys should check out if you haven't checked her out. Lady by the name of Caitlin Doherty, the morticianer. And she talks about the good death. She is the one that I will give her complete and total prompts for giving me using this. That's why I call all of my tourists deathlings now. They are my deathlings. She came up with that. That's what she calls all of the people on her YouTube channel. And I kind of stole it from her because it rings really true and it works great for the tours. But she goes into, if you ever have been interested from the point of view of a morticianer, it is definitely a YouTube channel worth checking out. She's really awesome. She's fun to watch and very, very educational in trying to break our hanging away from the discussion of death, and that death should not be something that we should have a taboo about it. We're all going there. So check her out. It's the morticianer, and I'll put a link down below to Caitlin's YouTube channel. And another one that I discussed yesterday that you guys should also check out, who's a huge, huge hero of mine, is Steve Huff and Steve Huff Paranormal. Yeah, Christopher, her books are great. I've got all of those. Her books are amazing. And guess what also I'm going to be doing while we're in lockdown? I'm going to be rereading her books. And yes, I can already hear some of you saying it. Yes, I know how to read, and it doesn't have to have pictures. So that is kind of, there was some light ghost stories in and around San Luis #1 Cemetery. We'll do a cemetery-specific hauntings. I want to introduce you guys to the Greater City of the Dead, which is at the intersection of Canal and City Park Boulevard. It's over where Charity Hospital Cemetery is located. Our Oddfellows Cemetery is located, which was abandoned back in the 1980s. It is where Metairie Lakeland Cemetery is located, which is a 150-acre cemetery, as well as the Greenwood Cemetery, which is a 150-acre cemetery. Metairie Lakeland Cemetery is where Millionaire's Row is located. This is where Anne Rice has her tomb for when she passes away. This is also where we interred Tom Benson, the former owner of the New Orleans Saints. Who dat? And don't ask where we put referees. We have a special place for referees here in the city. So guys, I think I've gone long enough and taken up enough y'all's time here in the afternoon. Huge honor to have you guys come and sit with me for just a little while. Little bit of update here in the city. Things are pretty much the same. As you can tell, there's still traffic moving around. People are starting to take the lockdown seriously. We know that that Bourbon Street and Frenchman and Magazine in the Uptown Garden District areas has died down. There are some people posting who actually, some of our quarter rats who live down the quarter posted some videos showing what the quarter looked like last night, and people are starting to pay attention and taking it seriously and locking themselves down in place, which is really good. So far, we are just on our general lockdown. As you guys have heard, nothing's really changed. Restaurants and bars are closed. Our grocery stores, gas stations, Walgreens, those are still open. In fact, I Mad Maxed out, went to Walgreens to resupply some stuff for the Evie Monster and myself, which everybody raised an eyebrow at stuff I wear every day. I don't see why they see it's out of the ordinary, but it's my normal clothes. But they'll catch up, I have faith. And they can come to myself and some of our other builders out there to up their post-apocalyptic wardrobe, so they're in the know and in the fashion. But things are as they are here in the hot zone here in New Orleans. I decided, like I talked about in yesterday's video, we're going to attack this with love and sense of humor. And I'm sure I'll catch some grief for, laughing at something so dire of a situation. People are dying, and yeah, they are, and my heart goes out to every single person out here. But if we don't keep our sense of humor and we don't find a way to make our way through this, we'll go crazy. So, and if you can't laugh at the dead, because trust me, they're laughing at us. So guys, mad love and respect to all you guys out there. Again, this is going to be posted on our YouTube channel, The Demon's Tea Room, Not Your Grandmother's Cup of Tea. Now that Evie is starting to feel a little bit better, we're getting the editing and stuff done. I had a real good friend of mine, Corey Smith, who's an original ASI member from many, many moons ago, back in the day, who has volunteered, and I will be shooting him what I can to help him out, but has offered to help me out with my editing, which we can definitely use, not an editor. We'll be getting more episodes out. We're going to be getting the podcast up and operational. In fact, we will probably record another podcast edition tonight from the Demon's Tea Room. So guys, like I said, they can't stop the signal. You can do me a huge solid by getting these out to people, letting people know about the Demon's Tea Room and what we do here. Boost the signal. That's what we need you guys to do. We need you to boost the signal. On the YouTube channel, subscribe. Give a thumbs up if you like the content. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the bell so that you get an alert when we post a new video, in case you were busy dodging, raiders and, making somebody else dying shiny and chrome and heading them off into Valhalla. We don't want you missing any of our episodes of the Demon's Tea Room. And hell yeah, Kyle, hack the planet. Hack the planet! That's Evie's new nickname during the apocalypse, is serial killer. And it's not because she's a murderer. You ought to see the way that woman goes through Raisin Bran Crunch. Oh my God. There are 5 boxes sitting in my kitchen right now, full. And it ain't hoarding. She likes her crunch. She's got her way of doing things, and I don't own enough armor if I disturb Evie's way of doing things in the morning. Not gonna happen. I'd rather take on a herd of banthas by myself with just a vibro blade. Yeah. So y'all, much love to everybody out there. Like I said, subscribe, smash that like button, smash the hell out of it. Let's start getting people, as many people as we can, boost that signal. And for my wastelanders out there, much love and respect. Hack the planet, boost the signal. Guys, much love, respect, and honor. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Stay healthy. And like I said earlier, this is Told You So McGee with the apocalyptic edition of the Demon's Tea Room. Seeing you guys out there in the wasteland. Be safe, my fam. Peace out.